At the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am authentic. And that is actually what they are fearful of, is my authenticity, because it rings true with every single American, whether they're a Texan or not.
So Jazzy Jasmine Crockett, who puts on different accents for different audiences, wants us to know she's authentic. Got it. Writing that one down. Oh, boy. Jasmine Crockett, one of the stars of the regular segment, Democrats say the darndest things. Maybe we'll do a little more Democrats say the darndest things in the final hour. The Chris Plant Show. Chris on vacation. Mike Opelka, that's me, sitting in for my buddy, my pal, my friend. And yes, we did grow up in the same suburban neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side of Chicago, Illinois, in the lovely village of Glenview. Happy to be here, thrilled to be here as we are rapidly approaching Christmas. I'll be here. Well, let's spend Christmas Eve together tomorrow as well. I'll be in for Chris, God willing. We'll try and get to everything. There is good economic news, as we've been reporting all morning with the gross domestic product numbers that popped today. The government and experts were expecting a little bit of a dip, and instead things went up. And now we're hearing, well, maybe consumer confidence is going to turn around too. And there even is a study I referenced from the Harvard group that looks at what people think the economy would do or could do if President Trump's policies were given a chance. We'll talk about that. That relates to patience, because you just don't flip a switch and change everything. I know when he was campaigning, President Trump said, "Oh, we're gonna end the war between Russia and Ukraine in one day. We'll fix the economy." That's campaign speak. In reality, the Democrats are fighting him at every turn as well. So I guess it's understanding when somebody tells you something, it doesn't necessarily just happen overnight. It does take time to unwind the problems of the past. And in many cases, the previous administration embedded problems that took a while to clear out. Now, we got a report yesterday that said Doge is still creating more savings for us. I wish we had Doge back at full strength. I wish Elon and his crew of government efficiency experts were still digging and uncovering the dead people getting benefits, the checks that are going out. I wish we'd find it all, because I think it would just be great for you and I as taxpayers to know our money was being spent in the right way. There was also big news yesterday out of the White House about the president upgrading our military, specifically our Navy. In case you missed part of the announcement, just happened after 5 p.m. yesterday.
As Commander-in-Chief, it's my great honor to announce that I have approved a plan for the Navy to begin the construction of two brand new, very large, the largest we've ever built, battleships. You know, you used to build the Iowa, the Missouri, the Wisconsin, the Alabama, many others. We had big battleships. These are bigger, but they will have 100 times they'll be 100 times the force, the power, and there's never been anything like these ships. These have been under design consideration for a long time, and it started with me in my first term, because I said, why aren't we doing battleships like we used to? And these are the best in the world. They'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any battleship ever built. So
now it's interesting. This is, again, one of those situations where we talk about the benefit that the American country and the American people and the American military will receive by that 4-year timeout that Donald Trump got, that we call the Biden presidency. Had the 2020 election results ended up in a different way. And many of us are still questioning some of the ways the votes were counted in that election in Arizona, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. That's a subject for another day. But had Donald Trump been reelected in 2020, because of the pandemic, he might not have been able to do the things that he's doing right now in the second term. America gets through the pandemic and Donald Trump is reelected, and we're starting to see what the president and his agenda can accomplish. And this restoration of maritime dominance being one of those issues, I don't know if this would have been something he could have accomplished in 2020 through 2024. I just don't know. Might not have been able to be done. But as the president made this announcement yesterday, he talked about some of the specifics of what's going to be on these ships.
The battleships are going to be armed just in terms of guns and missiles at the highest level. They'll also have hypersonic weapons, many hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered lasers that you've been starting to read about. We have lasers where you aim the laser at a target, it just wipes it out. We're going to have, there'll be the most sophisticated lasers in the world, and the most sophisticated laser in the world will be on the battleships that we're building. They'll also carry the nuclear arms, sea-launched cruise missiles currently under development, which will be instituted pretty quickly, but they're under development, and they've proven to be extremely lethal.
I think our cruise missile technology has been the envy of much of the world. Now, is this really just part and parcel of our upgrading our military to stay competitive on the battlefield? Is this a response to what Vladimir Putin has been talking about? Because even though there are discussions in going on with Steve Witkoff, the president's negotiator, talking with the Ukrainian delegation, talking with the Russian delegation, that war's still going on. And Putin seems to be telling everybody he's got some hypersonic weapons. And China is always telling everybody that they've got weaponry, but they're not showing it to us at the same time. This was a very interesting press event yesterday. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio also got up and talked about what's going to come out of this with the creation of these new battleships. And as I said, this is going to be a shot in the arm to American manufacturing. This is going to create jobs, too.
I don't have much to add. This is a phenomenal presentation. Thank you, Mr. President. This is American industrial power returning. This is the ability, once again, to rebuild, to have industry in the United States. This is generational in the change, not just in terms of applying American war power, increasing our ability to protect the seas. The U.S. Navy is the single biggest source of peace in the world of all of our forces because it gives us a global footprint. But it rebuilds American industrial capacity. The ability to make things again in our country has been critical to what the President's agenda has been all about, and this is a tangible reminder of it. And I know the country's grateful for it, and generations of Americans will be grateful for it.
Generations of Americans will benefit from what was started yesterday, and I appreciate the fact that the president is kicking this off at the end of his first year. This is important to get this thing in place because it will be hard to undo. You know, the left will want to stop this. Why do we need new ships? Well, look at China. Look at Russia. Look at the rest of the world. But if it's 3 years into it, it's going to be hard to slow it down. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth also speaking yesterday at the same event.
Well, Mr. President, you're exactly right. There are no fishing poles, no fishermen, and no fishing boats.
They were talking about the narco-terror boats when he said this, because there were some questions back and forth from the press about it. And Hegseth talking about not only the new boats we're building, but the narco-terror boats.
Just drug dealers and narco-terrorists. And with every strike, we're saving American lives. No other president was willing to do real deterrence. That's exactly what's happening. It's an honor to be here, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, Secretary Rubio, to talk about what peace through strength really looks like. You can talk about it, or you can invest in it and you can build it. And that's exactly what President Trump is doing. At the Department of War, we're restoring the warrior ethos. In fact, the President mentioned the NDAA. We put into law merit-based. We put into law getting rid of DEI and political correctness. That's now part of how our military operates. And you've seen it in record recruiting in the spirit of the Department of War. We're rebuilding the military. President Trump did it once. He's doing again with historic investments today in shipbuilding. And we're reestablishing deterrence, whether that's at the border, whether it's through Golden Dome, what happened with Midnight Hammer and what Iran found out, those drug boats, and, of course, the Houthis opening up the shipping lanes. American strength is back on the world stage. And the announcement of the Golden Fleet, anchored by new battleships, the biggest and most lethal ever, accomplishes all three of those things.
This is, I think, the administration putting a pin in that day yesterday, the 22nd of December, and saying this is the day where the U.S. military started a great move forward with new technology. There were questions from the press yesterday. There were questions about the narco-terror boats. There were questions about Venezuela, and are we attempting to get rid of Maduro, to move him out of there? The president talked about Maduro. He also talked about what Venezuela has done overall to the United States.
What goal in Venezuela to force Maduro from power?
Well, I think it probably would. I can't tell that. That's up to him, what he wants to do. I think it would be smart for him to do that. But again, we're going to find out. Look, Venezuela did terrible things to the United States. They sent hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, into our open border. They sent their criminals, they sent their prisoners, they sent their drug dealers, they sent their mentally insane and incompetent people into our country more than any other country. Others did too. The Congo did. Others did too. And we just let them come right in because we were run by a stupid president. But you don't have a stupid president anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the reality, that the drug boats and what Venezuela is getting pressure for is, I think, pretty obvious. President Trump, would like Maduro to step aside. He told him it's up to him. But Donald Trump, talked about the size of the force we have gathered in the region.
He can do whatever he wants. I mean, we have a massive armada formed, the biggest we've ever had, and by far the biggest we've ever had in South America. He could do whatever he wants. It's all right. Whatever he wants to do. If he wants to do something, if he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough. But
I think that sends a pretty clear message. If Maduro decides to play tough, whatever that means, it'll be the last time he's able to play tough. Meaning we will respond in a tougher manner. And it's not just Venezuela and Maduro. The question of what's going on with Colombia and the Colombian president, Petro. President Trump responded to the Colombian president as well.
So in response to the United States taking sanctioned oil from Venezuela, Colombian President Gustavo Petro criticized the United States by saying, well, the Southwest is stolen land and that it should be returned to Latin America. I just wanted to know what your response to that is.
Well, he has to watch because, he's got drug factories. They make cocaine in Colombia. And he's no friend of the United States. He's very bad guy. And he's got to watch his ass because he makes cocaine and they send it into the United States of America from Colombia. We love the Colombian people. I love the Colombian people. They're great people, energetic, smart, great. But their new leader is a troublemaker. And he better watch it. You better close up those cocaine factories. They have at least 3 major cocaine factories. We know where they are. He better close them up fast, yeah.
I love the fact that the president is telling him, well, we know there's 3 major cocaine factories. Would you like to know the addresses? Can we hold up the photos? Yes, we can. The president yesterday holding forth with a very unfiltered press conference talking about the recreation or the strengthening of the American naval fleet as well as what we're doing with Colombia, with Venezuela, etc. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the phones. Phones are lighting up once again. We want to talk to you. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. And before we get out of here, Democrats say the darndest things. We'll have some fun with that as well. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. Merry Christmas to you and yours. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka, my name, sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. And I've yammered on a lot this half hour, so let's go to the phones and talk to you, the people. Let's talk to Fritz in Springfield, Illinois. Hello, Fritz. Welcome.
Merry Christmas, Michael, and it's great to speak with you again. And I just loved hearing your report on President Trump's rearming our military. It was 53 years ago yesterday. I celebrated my 21st birthday working in a radar unit in Operation Linebacker 2, which you might know as the Christmas air raids of Hanoi and Haiphong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the main reason why I was calling, because as you being an Illinois gentleman, and that's where I'm residing now, I grew up in Ohio, but Governor Pritzker can no longer lay claim to be for the working man. I don't know if you heard, but he decoupled Illinois from the big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts. And he's going to continue to tax tips and overtime and Social Security. And he even decoupled from the generous corporate tax breaks incentives to build new facilities and help current businesses expand. So I just can't believe it.
It makes no sense. I look at cities like Chicago, where Brandon Johnson has talked about the per head tax on workers, and Portland and Seattle are doing the same. And then you see where this governor, this corpulent, talking about benefiting from your family, he certainly did. But he's going to make it harder for businesses to stay in Illinois. It just is insane. When are the people going to wake up, I wonder? That's the big question, Fritz. When are the people of Illinois going to say enough? Maybe they'll say it in Spanish. They'll say, basta, basta, enough. And I don't know if they're ready for that. But it's very scary, sad to see what the land of Lincoln has become. Well, I'm up against the clock. So many of you lined up on the phones. Let's talk. I got to take a break. When we come back, we'll hit the phones hard, and then we'll play a special round of Democrats Say the Darndest Things on the Chris Plant Show. The Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. So much to try and squeeze into this last less than half an hour, but a lot of it involves you, since many of you have reached out. Let's check in on the phones. Mark is in Independence, Missouri. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, thanks, Mike, and Merry Christmas. Earlier in the show, you were playing John Berman, saying that, we avoided a recession just like we did under Biden. And he's just lying. I mean, and he knows it. The first two quarters of 2022 were negative growth. That is the definition of a recession. Yet the media and the rest of the Democrats back then said it was a recession, or basically said there were other factors that didn't make it a recession. It's just amazing. When Trump is president, they always tell us a recession is just around the corner. But when Biden's president, they don't even report a recession that actually happens. It's just more pathetic media, and it's sickening. I don't know if it's ever going to change.
Didn't they call it it's technically a recession, but it's like what Whoopi said. Roman Polanski didn't commit rape, so this wasn't recession. It was yeah, sure, but we had other things. Growth did come back, But no, if you qualify for the definition of a recession, you are a recession. It is crazy. Biden benefited from the fact that the pandemic happened, and then he was able to preside over the economy during the recovery. But, if you throw everybody out and then you open the doors back up, you don't get to take credit for hiring everybody back again, but they did. It's crazy.
Yeah, and most of the jobs he brought were government jobs, and mostly taken by people who were not even citizens. So and that never was reported either. And the Trump jobs now are virtually all private sector jobs, and he's thankfully cut back the government. Like you said earlier, I wish DOGE would come back stronger. There's just so much waste and fraud in government, and
I'm hopeful.
Building the debt.
I'm hopeful the roots of Doge will sprout in the spring, and we will see all of the waste and fraud and abuse get choked out, and our money gets spent wisely. Well done, Mark. Well done. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being there. Let's go to Don in Chicago, listening on the great WLS. Hello, Don.
Merry Christmas, Mike. The peace through strength talk from the president and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War is just refreshing to me. When you're the top dog, sometimes you have to show it. My son served in the Marines for 10 years and used to tell me, Dad, we have the utmost respect for everyone we kill. So you really need to show you're the tough guy without really showing you're the tough guy all the time. But when you do, you do. And he's willing to do it. I just love this guy.
Yeah, that's it. I voted for this. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, right. You voted for this? I voted for all of it. Every single bit of it. I get upset every now and then. I wasn't necessarily happy about the reaction to the death of Rob Reiner. I could have been happy if that response was never published. But it's like my late mother used to say, Michael, I love you, but I don't like you very much right now. She got over it. She'd come back. Don, thank you for raising a Marine, 10 years a Marine. Wow. Well done, sir. That's good parenting right there.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, sir. Let's go to Phil in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hello, Phil.
Hello, Mr. Opelka. Merry Christmas to everybody. Look, President Trump, about two-thirds of the way through that announcement about the battleships, he went directly after these CEOs of these defense contractor companies and the way that they take the money from the huge contracts. And the first thing they do is they start doing stock buybacks. They start padding their own pockets instead of investing in Defense Department infrastructure to put out these ships faster. And he said he's going to go after those CEOs. And they're going to have some talks. They're going to say, look, if you're going to get $40 million, you better be pumping out those ships in the highest quality and as fast as possible. And if you're not going to be getting $40 million. It was so wonderful. I've never heard any president address this. And across American business, all these CEOs need to hear the same lecture about greed.
Phil, it feels like contractor Donald Trump, developer Donald Trump, steps into some of these situations and says, look, I understand business. And he looks these guys in the eye and says, if you want the contract to build the ships for this nation, you're going to have to do it a better job at a lower cost than you would have gotten from the last guy. And I think that's what the art of the deal comes into play so often under this administration. People just don't understand it. And I think it can't be talked about enough. So I agree with you. That's well done. Good. Well spotted, sir. Well spotted. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody. If you want to be part of the conversation, Jasmine is on the phones today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. I said we would do it, so I think we have to do it. Democrats say the darndest things.
Yes, they were actually elected, but when it's least expected, those Democrats say the darndest things.
Yes, it should be a regular segment on all news shows. Democrats say the darndest things. We hear from Democrats all the time. Mainstream media has them in-house. I don't know how Scott Jennings puts up with the Democrats at CNN. I guess he appreciates the support he gets economically from CNN. And by the way, the book that Scott Jennings put out was a couple months ago, a really great book. I read it in a couple of days. Very well done, Scott Jennings. But Scott Jennings was on CNN and had to face off with a Democrat saying the darndest things. Bakari Sellers sounding just crazy.
I love my panelists that are here on this holiday season, but nobody acknowledged the fact that Donald Trump's old. Like, he's extremely old, and he is burgeoning on senility. And
Wait a minute. This is a Democrat on the left-leaning CNN trying to tell us that they have a problem with the age of the president? Talk about having no self-awareness. I got to go back to the beginning of this. Bakari Sellers on CNN talking about President Trump.
I love my panelists that are here on this holiday season, but nobody acknowledged the fact that Donald Trump's old. Like, he's extremely old, and he is burgeoning on senility, and we can see that. And the fact that we just went through a president who went through that, and Scott and Kristen, they will not.
Are you really going to try this today?
They are not going to say anything without mentioning Joe Biden.
I love the fact that Scott Jennings acts incredulous. Well, he is incredulous. Are you really going to try this? You're really going to try? You're really going to play this card after Joe Biden?
Exactly.
Come on, Bakari.
But this president is old, and that's what we're seeing. It's not unbelievable. It is. I mean, he's talking about undergarments, panties. He's talking about, it's not a weave. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing somebody's old uncle. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Yes. The American public saw Joe Biden get old and decrepit in the White House.
Well, we didn't see it for a while. He wasn't.
What they're seeing right now is Donald Trump doing the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's not even close. Not even close. Let me remind you, Bakari Sellers, that Joe Biden, when he actually took questions from the press, had a cheat sheet in his coat pocket. It was a card that was printed out with photographs of the person he was supposed to call on, their name, and the topic they were going to address. Donald Trump walks out and just takes questions for 40, 50, sometimes an hour at a time, and doesn't have any pre-scripted questions for him. But go ahead and tell me that, the president of the United States is old, and keep trying this. It's really embarrassing. It's getting to be beyond embarrassing. And speaking of beyond embarrassing, he's a Democrat. He really doesn't have a platform anymore. But no mocking of Democrats would be complete without a mention of Don Lemon. Sometimes we call him Don the Lemon, as my friend Doc Thompson used to call him. Don the Lemon has a podcast because he got all that get out of here money from CNN. I think CNN paid him a whole bunch of money when they fired him. But he's doing the Don Lemon Show, which I'm sure dozens watch it, but he's upset about the Epstein files.
All of these pictures of Donald Trump, where did they go? Why didn't they release them? And they say they want to protect people. They have been redacting people's faces because they don't want them. They say, oh, just because you're in there, you shouldn't be implicated, and blah, 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 blah. But they want to put Bill Clinton's face out there and his pictures out there. And it's like, wait a minute. We know that Donald Trump is in there a lot more than Bill Clinton. So
we know? How do we know? How do you know, Don Lemon, that Donald Trump's in the Epstein files in pictures more than Bill Clinton? Seriously.
What is this whole thing of Bill Clinton? They're playing in our faces. They are punking us. They think that people care that oh my God, they're going to be embarrassed that Bill Clinton is in. But nobody's embarrassed that Bill Clinton is in there.
Nobody's embarrassed that Bill Clinton's in there. Can we get Chappaqua on the phone right now? Can we get Hillary Rodham Clinton on the phone right now and find out what she thinks about her husband in the pool with Ghislaine Maxwell, what she thinks about her husband in the hot tub, and we don't see who else is in the tub. I think we see some feet, and you certainly can't tell the age of a person very, very specifically by the feet. But it does raise some questions as to who Bill Clinton was in the hot tub in the pool with in the Epstein photos. And there still may be more coming. But Don Lemon, oh, he's upset. He's upset. And is anyone surprised that director James Cameron is not a fan of President Trump? Anyone surprised? And why would you even ask? Well, somebody did.
Feel about the direction of Trump's America right now?
Oh, I think you know how I feel about it. I think it's horrific. You know, you've got the so-called Environmental Protection Agency that's now been taken over by the pantheon of demons.
The pantheon of demons. Everything has to be over-the-top dramatic. I'm surprised he didn't paint himself blue to make this statement. The pantheon of demons has overtaken the EPA. Didn't you get the memo that the whole climate thing had melted like you told us the Arctic ice was going to melt? Isn't that the truth?
Currently in Washington, I mean, we're heading toward a dark age.
We're heading towards a dark age. Biden tried this. Dark Brandon gave that speech in Philadelphia, and it didn't work. America wants to be led by a president who is pro-America and pro-Americans. Americans first, America first. Strength, peace through strength. Cameron, projecting and talking about a dark age.
When you turn your back on the science, willfully turn your back on the science, then you're just going into a superstitious dark age.
So, turning your back on the science, let's look at all the data. Let's listen to the experts. You can say the science is settled, but science is never settled, James Cameron. I'm sorry you feel this way. He's billed here as destroying Donald Trump. No, he's destroying himself.
You know, it's pretty horrific, and it's not just all in the United States. It's everywhere. There's a kind of a rise of authoritarianism and so on. So we are taking a step.
A rise of authoritarianism. You mean a rise of maybe common sense and people not being led by the nose by people like yourself who make pictures and then try and tell us that you know better than everybody else. But I think the Democrats who say the darndest things all the time and on just a great volume, they live over at ABC News. The Democrats who say the darndest things, it's the harpies at The View. And when it really happens to be the craziest, I think, is always at the end of the week when the normal leader of the harpy chorus at The View, Whoopi Goldberg, takes Fridays off. She doesn't really work Fridays. So they're all left to their own devices. And we were treated to just a bleeding of their spleens, I guess, or venting of their spleens, starting with the ironically named Sonny Hostin declaring that we're a country based on racism and slavery and misogyny. What a perfect message for your audience around Christmas.
This is a country based on racism and slavery, and founded in it. There is systemic racism
and misogyny.
And there are people that I've never met anyone that raises their hand and says, I am racist. However, there are people that seem to be able to look the other way when it comes to racism.
So she's never met anyone who said I'm a racist, but she's sure they're there because she thinks they're looking the other way.
So you have a president who traffics in misogyny, who traffics in xenophobia, who traffics in sexism.
And won. And he won.
And won against a black woman.
Oh, there it is. Playing the race card at any opportunity. The ironically named Sonny Hostin with the ironically named Joy Behar fighting for the leadership at The View. It is just unbelievable. It is reliable. If you want to hear something that fights with common sense, then you should spend time with The View. But you really never should. Just DVR it and watch it later because it's on during the Chris Plant Show. I just had to share with you just a little segment of our favorite little segment.
Yes, they were actually elected, but when it's least expected, those Democrats say the darndest things.
Oh, I didn't even give you a Jasmine Crockett clip. Maybe we'll wrap up with one. It's Mike Opelka. You got a final thought? 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka wrapping up today's edition. And God willing, I'll be back tomorrow, and we will go into the holiday season and remind you, tomorrow there is a $1.7 billion lottery drawing. Will somebody get a Christmas Eve miracle? That's kind of interesting. We'll also be talking about what your favorite present from the president has been in the first year of Donald Trump's second term. We'll get into that. Let's try and grab a couple of quick calls before we get out of here. Bob is in South Kakalaki. Hello, Bob. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, my greetings from Florence, South Carolina, and Merry Christmas. Now, real quick, you can end out the show with this. I got a Christmas riddle for you. Are you ready?
I don't know, Bob, but I'll do my darndest.
Here we go. What is the name of the reindeer? That very first reindeer, the reindeer up front, pulling Santa's sled through the sky. What's the reindeer's name?
Rudolph.
No. Want to try again?
Yeah, I thought it was Rudolph with the nose so bright, guiding the sleigh.
No. Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, Kim Jong-un. He's the dear leader.
Oh, my goodness. Don't kill me. I'll die of embarrassment, Bob. Bob, you know what 2/3 of a pun is, don't you?
No, I don't.
P.U. But I will be stealing your joke later, dear leader. Well done, Bob. Well done. Thank you. Al in Indiana. Al, hello. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, how are you? I love when you guest, but I also love Chris, so you guys should split up and make two shows.
Thank you.
I have a one-word domination for Democrats say the darndest things.
Okay.
That was when they used the word unconstitutional.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. We should find all the times they use the word unconstitutional and have no idea what it means. That's a good idea, Al. Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you. Thank you, Jasmine, for handling the tsunami of phone calls. Thank you, Michael Piercy. Hopefully we'll be back at full strength tomorrow. Till next time, Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant, reminding you, testudo, my friends, testudo.